The Flash is finally back for Season 7, though it's a bit of a weird situation. Because of the pandemic, only 19 episodes of Season 6 out of 22 were able to air, and the final 3 episodes are now the start of Season 7. This creates an interesting path forward in terms of what's going to happen next, but oh man, there's some potentially crazy stuff on the horizon. What epic plot twists or returning villains can we expect from Flash Season 7? Well, let's discuss right now. I think if you talk about all the great villains Flash has faced over the last 7 seasons, the villain at the top of the list is clearly Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash.
Oh, I'm not like the Flash at all.
Like a bad penny, Thawne just always returns in some way, shape, or form, even if it's getting a little convoluted to keep track of his timeline or what version it is we're seeing, even when it's a little strange that he either looks like Tom Cavanaugh or Matt Letcher. None of that matters because the Reverse Flash is awesome. But dude, come on. I've always wanted to mention that your name? Yeah, not great. I'd only accept Reverse Flash as a name if you ran backwards everywhere you went. Anyways, there are some theories that Thawne will once again return in The Flash Season 7. When we last saw Thawne, he was trying to take over Nash Wells' body, but he was exorcised, leaving him as just a bunch of negative tachyons without a proper form. But now that all the Wells are seemingly gone, could this pave the way somehow for Thawne's epic return? If anything, just to keep Tom Cavanaugh on the show? That sounds likely, right? Maybe Thawne's return can tie into the next big theory that Barry will create his own Speedforce in order to help out with his little problem. When Season 6 ended, Barry was starting to lose his powers thanks to the Speedforce death. The Season 7 premiere seemed to fix that with Nash's sacrifice to make the artificial Speedforce. But is this a permanent solution? What if they need Thawne to help make this a forever thing? Or maybe Wally West will have something to do with the maintenance of the new artificial Speedforce. There's a theory that both Barry and Wally will have to team up once again in order to keep this new Speedforce up and running, and honestly, that sounds like a great option. Seeing those two together is always a blast, so more scenes with them working as a team would be an awesome way to explore the ramifications of this new Speedforce. The Flash has one of the best rogues gallery out of any Arrowverse hero, and for the most part we've seen some of the best Flash villains come to life in epic ways. Remember back in Season 1 when we weren't sure how a live-action Gorilla Grodd would work? Man, what a naive time that was for all of us. But anyways, we've seen villains like Grodd, Reverse Flash, and Captain Cold all become fan-favorite characters. But there's one big Flash villain that just didn't work out great the first time, and that's the OG Mirror Master. This is kinda funny. Before Season 7 started, there was a big theory that the OG Mirror Master, Sam Scudder, was going to come back and help Team Flash against the new Mirror Master. That would sort of make sense. His character needed a better reintroduction after a lackluster debut, and this was the perfect time to do it, right? Well, wrong. In the Season 7 premiere, Sam Scudder did appear, but they ended up killing him off almost immediately. They did it so quick that they didn't even want the OG actor to come back to collect a paycheck. Although this theory was debunked, it was at least true that the original Mirror Master would be coming back. That's something, right? Iris will be front and center in the first mini-arc of Season 7, but what will await for her after she's rescued and everything goes back to normal? She'll start the season still trapped in the Mirrorverse, trying desperately to find a way out, but will she return the same way? We don't really know the true after effects of staying in the Mirrorverse for prolonged periods of time, and maybe this will be the catalyst for Iris developing powers of her own. We already got a brief glimpse of Iris with powers back in Season 4, when Flash and Iris transferred speed temporarily, and perhaps it's time to give her powers permanently. I mean, everyone else on Team Flash has powers, so why not Iris? This could add an interesting new dynamic to Barry and Iris' relationship as they navigate a new future where both of them are heroes fighting alongside each other. Of course, this will have its detractors. Keeping Iris grounded and powerless allows her other abilities to shine and gives her an interesting perspective when it comes to team meetings. I don't know which one I'd like to see more. Does she stay the same or power up? I guess only time will tell. This theory goes along with the idea that Eobard Thawne will return in some way, shape, or form. But isn't it about time that we explore more of Thawne's backstory? We're 7 seasons in, for Pete's sake. Yes, we know what Thawne usually wants whenever he shows up to battle Team Flash, but I think this season might finally be the perfect opportunity to really dig into Thawne's psyche and explore where exactly he came from. Hey, in fact, let's just devote an entire episode to Thawne and see what he was like in his future. Doing this in Season 7 would be awesome for a few reasons. It would do something different with a character we think we know everything about after all these years in a way that truly surprises us, and then by exploring his backstory in Season 7, you could set him up as the big bad yet again in The Flash's final season down the line. Wouldn't that be fitting if Reverse Flash was once again the big bad for the show's last season? It would be a nice bookend for the entire series and mimic a lot of Season 1 in new and exciting ways. One of the best new characters to come out of these later seasons of The Flash was Nora, the future daughter of Barry and Iris. She shook up the team dynamics in fun, new ways and presented new, interesting dilemmas for the team to grapple with. How do you interact with your future daughter without disrupting the timeline? Heavy stuff. Of course, the end of Season 5 was truly heartbreaking as Nora was erased from existence since they successfully saved the timeline. Though the show did a smart thing by not necessarily wallowing in grief over Nora's disappearance, but rather appreciating the time they had together, while looking forward to meeting her in the future where they actually have a kid. But thanks to the Crisis storyline, are we in for a swerve when it comes to Barry and Iris' children? One theory is that now Iris will no longer give birth to Nora, but rather the Tornado Twins, aka Dawn and Dawn, spelled differently of course.
Dawn, if I'm not mistaken.
This could really shake things up and keep things engaging. It's a little boring story-wise to have Iris be pregnant with Nora and know everything about the child already. A big swerve could happen when the two find out they're having twins instead of Nora and watching them grapple with that new reality. Godspeed arrived at a time where it seemed like the show had run out of gas in terms of quality speedster villains. Like after Reverse Flash, Zoom, Savitar, along with a few others, it just seemed like Godspeed wasn't anything new. But could he return in Season 7 even more powerful than before? His timeline is interesting. He was first introduced in Nora's alternate future in The Flash Season 5. He even had a whole episode named after him, so you know he was a big deal. The Godspeed we met then was August Hart, an intern at Mercury Labs. And then throughout Season 6, we saw a few new incarnations of Godspeed in the present that Team Flash had to fight, with the presumably real Godspeed showing up near the end of Season 6. But of course, this was also just another fake out, but rest assured, it finally looks like the real Godspeed will be showing up in Season 7, and we'll just have to wait and see about what role he's going to play. After being teased for so long, could he possibly be Season 7's next big bad? Will creating the new Speedforce ultimately reveal the all-powerful threat of Godspeed? Man, this wait is killing me. I wish I had speed powers to travel to the future to find out. I don't even care about preserving the timeline at this point. If there's one villain that fans have been dying to see but are unsure how to exactly bring him to the Flash TV show, it's Red Death. In the comics, Red Death is an evil version of Bruce Wayne that has Batman's intellect and skill mixed with Flash's speed powers, so yeah, he's kind of a big deal. It makes sense with the complicated Batman rights early on that the Flash couldn't use Red Death at all in its earlier seasons. But now that the multiverse is blown wide open and there's Batman and Batwomen running around, why couldn't Season 7 introduce Red Death? Or even if they don't want to touch the Bruce Wayne character, maybe there's another way to bring in Red Death to The Flash Season 7. One theory is that the aura of Eobard Thawne that's just floating around out there will combine with the terrifying villain Bloodwork in Season 7, thus creating a new version of Red Death. This would both be awesome and very worrying. Meaning it would be great for us fans, but might not be so great for Team Flash who know how to fight the monstrosity. I think it's time to give Black Flash another look. Hunter Zolomon was the main villain for The Flash Season 2, and while he wasn't as well received as a new speedster villain compared to Thawne, he still was menacing in his own right. Eventually, he was defeated, and his fate was horrifying, with the Speedforce sending Time Race after him and turning into a creepy, decayed, specter-like being that was basically his own Time Wraith. We saw him hunting down Eobard Thawne in Legends of Tomorrow for a bit, but thanks to Crisis and the death of the Speedforce, could we see a new version of Black Flash return? Maybe one with a bit more personality? His backstory right now seems to be relatively the same, with the post-Crisis story being that Zoom's group got their powers from the Singularity and was still known as the Metapocalypse. But were there any other changes? With everything different now thanks to both Crisis and the Speedforce demise, it would make sense to bring Black Flash back in some way, at least for an episode. Okay, this last one is a bit radical. Could Season 7 see the death of the Flash? Like, The for real death of the Flash? I know every season seems to deal with some variation of Flash dying and then coming back, and we just went through a whole storyline of Flash fighting off death to not disappear in the Crisis arc. So would the show really undo all of that by really killing off Barry Allen? I think if the show wants to try something new for a season or two, it totally should.
The Flash must die.
Imagine the creative hurdle of killing off Barry Allen at the end of Season 7 and keeping him dead for all of Season 8 while a new Flash takes center stage. Barry Allen was dead for a while in the comics, but because this is a TV show, it's never been able to keep its main character gone for more than a few episodes. Killing off Barry Allen for a while would fuel some amazing stories for the entire next season, and could slowly build up to his triumphant return in Season 8. I know, this one is about as likely as Cisco ever shaving his head and going bald to mimic Lex Luthor, but a guy can dream, right? It would at least be interesting. Now that Superman and Lois is part of the Arrowverse, is it too much to ask for more Superman appearances in The Flash Season 7? Those are two heroes who I think need to interact more, and now we're finally able to make that happen. Fingers crossed, right?